time once again for Community Forum. And we're very lucky to have with us live in the studios this morning, Joe Ingram. Joe Ingram is an associate at the Interfaith Task Force on Homelessness and executive director and founder at Homeless Outreach. He is also on the State Advisory Council on Homelessness and the co-chair of the Balance of State Continuum of Care for 33 of the 39 counties in Washington State. Joe, thank you very much for coming in and spending time with us this morning.
Well, thank you. I'm a little intimidated with all these things, but that's okay.
Well, no worries. It's just you and I and our loving audience, so don't be intimidated. So start out. Tell us how you got involved in this issue and about the organization you founded, Homeless Outreach.
Well, how I got involved was I used to be homeless, and I slept in the Ballard, Fremont area, Wallingford area, and it's funny is because on cold nights like this, I would walk a lot and end up here at the Seattle Center and sleep in the food court, but what happened was I ended up getting hooked up with services, the Veteran Administration, because I am a vet, and the guy that did outreach and helped me get on my feet invited me to go to some meeting someplace, and it got me hooked. My words to him when I moved out of transitional housing was, what am I going to do with all my time? And when I founded Homeless Outreach, which at the time was called Vets Ed because I was focused on veterans, he became the president of my board of directors when I got my 501c3. And I started as a publication, and from the publication it went, made a mistake, I put my phone number on there and people started calling me. And then I had to learn all the resources out there, and I moved from Shoreline to Redmond, and I started going to Tent City 4, and it just exploded from there. And now, as you see, I'm on the governor appointed me to the Balance to SAT, the State Advisory Council on Homelessness, and this was Governor Gregoire appointed me to the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, and from those I ended up getting on the Balance of State, which I'm now the co-chair of. I'm the chair of the Veterans Homeless Committee on that, and so we're changing the way the Balance of State Continuum of Care does work. Instead of having Commerce saying this is what we're doing and it's all about just the money coming in from HUD, now it's more about how can we better serve the people on the street throughout the state. This is for 33 out of 39 counties, and that's not King County is not one of them. Thank you. And so that's how I got started. I went from being homeless to a provider. I don't have any MSW, LLMC things after my name. I just have me. And I'm not a big organization, don't have funding. I get a very small stipend from the Interfaith Task Force on Homelessness. And so most things come out of my pocket. And I'm on disability, I'm on SSI, and I'm on Section 8. So I know how it feels to have the services, people from services treat me and treat other people that are homeless. And it's a real stigma because they sit there and go, and I know I'm moving away from your question into what I really like to talk about is, you go in, you ask for help, and they go, okay, we'll help you, but you have to stop drinking, stop drugging. You can't show any mental health issues, at least not in the housing. Anything you learned on the street, you have to change. And then we'll talk about it, but then there's a 3 to 5 year, 6 year wait list to get into housing. So I'm going to tell a story. Years ago, right here at the Seattle Center, I did a workshop with Bill Block, who was the head of the Committee on Homelessness at the time. And it was a 90-minute workshop, and it was a great organization, one of those real feel-good, warm and fuzzy things. And so, being a tobacco addict like I am, as soon as we got done with this workshop, and the workshop, Bill Block was the lead on it, said, how do you become friends with someone that's homeless? You know, which was, and I love Bill Block immensely, but it was just way too warm and fuzzy for Joe. I went outside after the workshop, after 90 minutes of it, and was going to have a cigarette. And there was a guy, obviously homeless, trying to make a cigarette out of other people's butts. And when you don't have money and you're living on the street, you do stuff like that. And I walked over, I gave him a cigarette, introduced myself, and started talking to him. And then a gal came out that was in the workshop, and I waved her over and introduced him. And I said to the guy, you know, I can't. And believe me, I wish I could, but I can't. But if I could hand you a key to an apartment right now, would you take it? And the guy, not 2 seconds did he think, and he looked at me and said, I would, but it'd be really, really hard because I've been doing what I've been doing for so long. I don't know if I could change. And it didn't hit me right then and there, but what it said to me later, and what I really heard was, it's not that people don't want housing. They're scared of doing something different. And so when people say, well, they don't want housing, I'm going, no, they don't know what it entails. And so my job inside myself changed from finding someone housing to preparing them to succeed in housing. And I think that's the real key thing, because providers don't think about that. And I get calls from other parts of the state. I know I'm waving my arms all around. Other parts of the state from providers going, you know, how do we help them stay in housing once they get in housing? And I go, well, are you doing any, not just supportive services, but helping them get a new social life? And they go, no, why? And I go, because they've given up everything they know and everyone they know. Years ago, Tacoma did a housing first type model. They tried to. And what happened was they went to a homeless camp, grabbed everyone, put them in scattered site housing, subsidized apartments, and most of them got kicked out because what happened was they invited all their friends in. There was nothing to replace that security and that social, I'm looking for a word and I can't find it, but the social thing. You know, it's like, and I tell people when I'm talking to them, when you get housing, the only thing you have to change in your life is everything. You know, and it's really a lot like the old 12-step program of when you get clean, the only thing you change is everything. And it's true. But the first change has to come from inside. And I know that the one night count happened was a week ago. And we have a 19%, almost 20% increase on street homelessness in Seattle, King County. You know, and I hate numbers because numbers can be fixed, but that's a hard number to, and they had a raise in homelessness last year. But the programs in the city and the county still want to do what they've always done, expecting different results. And they still want to do it with the same people they've always done it with. You know, and I agree that DESC, Lehigh, the Low Income Housing Institute, and all the other ones, Plymouth Housing, do a great job. But they still want to do it like they've always done it. And we have a whole different population out there now. We have more families than ever before. We have more single women than ever before. And it's just, what do we do with them? You know, they go in and they did a coordinated entry a few years ago, a partnership with the Gates Foundation. and what happened was the families would go in and do an intake interview. And what the intake interviewer didn't tell them was that there is a 3 to 5 year wait And when they were done with the intake, the interviewer would say, "Great, don't call us, we'll call you." And people were just left hanging. And so now they're going to do a different type of coordinated entry, and hopefully it'll work. But what happens is providers don't tell the people they're serving the whole story. And so the Interfaith Task Force on Homelessness, ITFH, came up with a thing a few years ago that says, "A safe place tonight." And when I parked my car outside here, there was a shopping cart full of stuff and a guy sleeping on the sidewalk. That's not a safe place tonight. When it comes to families, going to a place that you have to walk in at 8 to 9 o'clock at night and get kicked out between 6 and 7 in the morning may be safe for them at the moment, but it's not a safe place. You know, I have stood there talking to mom and dad while the kids were in the back seat of the car doing their homework. You know, that's not a safe place. That's not a learning environment. And what happens is it becomes generational because it becomes their standard. That's their comfort zone. And so the kids who end up growing up going, "This is what it's always been for me. Why should I change?" And they don't see and I hate to say this, they don't see the American dream. What they see is my next meal or what I can get out of it. And they're not taught that giving is a different form of getting. And they're not taught that benevolence starts inside you. And it's not the church giving you a $25 gas card or a $25 Safeway card. It's how can I help someone else? And I know it's probably a little bit of my religious background. My faith is that service comes first. And when I go out and I talk to someone, I don't say, "What are you doing for yourself?" or "What are you doing here? What are you doing that?" I'm going, "How did that program of these people make you feel?" And that's a key question, and the answer speaks volumes of where the person is at and where they've been. And I was down in Olympia a couple of months ago, and one of the guys from Commerce took me out to lunch. And going back, and since I'm a big guy, and I'm on a diet because I need new knees, and the doctors won't operate until I lose some weight. So I had a lot of leftovers. And walking back to the car, there was a bundle of clothes by my car. And I kind of walked over and said, "You hungry?" And they moved, and a hand came out, all gloved up, and took my food, and I introduced myself. And within 3 minutes, it turned out it was a woman, and she was talking to me. And I said, "How are the police treating you? Are they treating you okay? How's the program over here treating you?" And I know nothing about the resources in Olympia, but I can ask those types of questions. And what happens is the person says he cares about me as a person. He doesn't care about the numbers I represent. He cares about me as a person. And so she had pulled her hoodies down, and there she had like 3 of them over her head, and took her gloves off and shook my hand when I left. And the guy from Commerce just stood there with his mouth open going, "How did you do that?" And I go, "Because I told her by my actions that I cared for her." You know, and I'm going to stop and let you ask another question so I can.
Well, this illustrates a lot of your work, I know, through your postings on Facebook, and this seems to illustrate one of your frustrations that came up about a week ago after the shooting in the jungle, quotes around that, where you pointed out that, oh, this horrible thing happened, and typically the politicians came out and with their packaged compassion, and then the local like you were just talking about, the local organizations came out and said, well, we'd like to do more, but the requirements of our donors don't allow us to really work the solutions. And it ties into your another criticism you have with the big organizations in the state, that they aren't really, that you're not allowed to, people like yourself and people doing work like you're doing don't ever get invited to the table when it comes to coming up with the solutions, although it sounds like you're getting integrated, at least at the state level, on some of this. So can you address that? And we only got 10 minutes left to do so.
It's gotten that far.
I told you it flies by.
Oh, this is one of my biggest pet peeves. A couple of them. One is, I'm going to go to the shooting itself at the jungle. It was three brothers. It was the youngest was 13 years old. Then it was 16 and 17-year-olds. And it was from a drug deal that went bad, or a debt for their mother, who was homeless. Their dad had been in and out of prison, pretty much out of the scene. And this is what is being taught to the next generation. And then I'm going to pick on the city of Seattle, and I love the mayor. He's a great guy. He just doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to homelessness. He gets up and says, we're going to open up these parking lots, or we're going to do these encampments, but we're going to do it the same way with the same people that's always been done. And I love Share a Wheel. I don't agree with all the policies, but I love Share a Wheel because they give people a safe place tonight. And that's essential. But there's a lot of people like me, Bill Curl and Hackett, that do services, and we don't have the constraints that the funders put on us because we don't get funding. And so, this is what I tell people: I deal with the hardest to serve. Everyone that the programs don't want to deal with, I end up dealing with them. And I will complain about silos and that type of thing. But the key, because what the mayor has been doing lately is fine, but he hasn't invited the county to the table. And they're all homes, which used to be the Committee on Homelessness, is not at the table on this. They find out the same time I do from the news. And they're supposed to be, they are the continuum of care for Seattle, King County. And so if Seattle's doing something, they have to include everybody, but they don't. And then there's, again, people like me, Bill Curl and Hackett, a gal down in the South End named Carrie Fuller, that reaches out. We feed the homeless. We find them a safe place to go. I have sleeping bags. I have coats. I have socks in my car with me all the time. And I give these out all the time. But the mayor's office doesn't talk to me, or Bill Curl and Hackett, neither do the county. They know about me because I'm just so shy. And if you read my Facebook, and I'll take as many friends as possible on Facebook. It's Joe Ingram. It's a short, fat guy with the beard, is my picture. And so, the thing is to get people involved. The more people that the city and the county bring to the table, the more communication that can happen. Because if they're going to keep doing the same thing with the same people and expect different results, isn't that like a definition of insanity? And that's what it is. It's insane because we're not going to get different results. They don't look at an individual person that's homeless as an individual. They look at him as he's a funding source. And so I'll do what I need to do to make sure I get my funding so I have my paycheck. I've been on the board of directors of a couple of housing providers, and I love them. I love them all. It's just that the first thing they ask themselves is, how is it going to affect our funding? How is it going to affect the way we're perceived? And I don't care how it affects me. You know, I'll go out and I'll sound like a fool all the time and look like a fool to advocate for the people I serve. And that's a whole different mentality. Is I serve people that are homeless. You know, they're not there for me, I'm there for them. And I don't tell them what to do. I ask them what they want to do, and I help them get to where they want to go. Part of my 90-second pitch when I first meet somebody is I won't make you any promises, because if I made promises, outcomes, I'd be lying to you. 2 is I'm here to help you get what you want, not what some overeducated, out-of-touch person says you need because they got the big fancy office and I don't. You know, and people appreciate that. They appreciate, even if it's kind of crude at times, they appreciate the fact that you're honest with them. And they appreciate the fact that you're upfront going, you know, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. And I tell them, if I know a hoops you got to jump through, I'll tell you about them. If I don't, we'll learn them together. I'm not going to do it for you. I'll do it with you. You know, and they become a partner in their recovery from homelessness, whether part of it is addiction treatment, mental health treatment, whatever it is. You know, there's some people out there that can never live alone. And so to put a person in an apartment where he knows nobody, they're going to go back to where they are most comfortable. You know, they're not incompetent. They're just never going to be able to handle everything alone. And we don't have any more, I hate to use the term group homes, but like a group home type setting, shared housing. And I would love to get more shared housing out there. I helped a guy years ago work with, I know, it's almost time, isn't it? Helped a guy get a shared housing thing started in Yakima. And the landlord was like apprehensive at the beginning. And all of a sudden he's watching these people move in together and get better. And I mean, they start taking showers every day. They start getting clean. They start looking for work. You know, a couple of families were living together in this duplex. And then he had 4 or 5 individuals. And all of a sudden the landlord's going, you know what? If you save X amount of money, I will match it in this time frame. If you do this, I will do this. And he starts getting involved with the people. And then he turns to my friend and says, I will buy or build whatever you need. You tell me what you need. And programs don't do that. Programs go, we're a social service agency and you're a landlord, but we're going to treat you like a social service agency. And landlords aren't that. They're business people. And so when I go out and I talk to landlords, I go, if I can put someone in your property, I want to make sure that they can pay the rent, they're a good neighbor, and they're not going to destroy your property. And if you have issues, then here's a phone number to call. 24/7, someone should answer it. And if someone doesn't answer it at 3 o'clock in the morning, they will respond in the first hour of the next day. And business at, you know, like 9 to 5 or 8, just whatever. And it works. Landlords appreciate that. You're not asking them for charity. You're asking them because we don't have enough housing anywhere in the state to house everyone. You know, and that's why our numbers are going up. For like Lehigh or Plymouth Housing to build housing, it takes between 3 and 5 years to get it built from the time they say, there's a piece of property, I own that property, I'm going to build there. 3 to 5 years. And so it's not an overnight answer. Nothing happens overnight. You know, and I'm always going to go back to taking the time with the person that's homeless and needs housing, the family, and learn about who they are, what they want, where they want to go. I'm a big advocate in employment. At the same time, I also know that just because someone's homeless doesn't mean they're stupid, untalented, and all this stuff. It's not, it's a preconceived. I've dealt with attorneys that have lost everything. And so I'm not going to go say to the guy, go take the first job at the 7-Eleven or whatever you can find. I'm going to say, where do you think you can best fit in? Let's find something that matches what you can do. And we still want room to grow. And my best year before the county took over all the housing and housing placement with their coordinated entry, I assisted, just me as an individual, 63 people off the street one year into housing. And 27 of them went from the street to market rate jobs and market rate housing with not one penny of government money. And it can work. It can happen.
That is one of the many things that amazes me about your work is reading about how you're doing this all out of your own pocket. I mean, you're just amazing. You're just every day you're doing it. It appears every day you're getting up and doing this. You're handling calls at home. You're handling stuff in the middle of the night, and with very little assistance. Although it looks like people can contribute to your work as individuals. How do they do that?
They can write a check out to the ITFH, Interfaith Task Force on Homelessness, and mail it to ITFH at 3030 Bellevue Way, Northeast, Bellevue 98004. And then if you go on my Facebook page, I sometimes put my link up to my PayPal, and it works too. That way the money goes directly to me. It takes 3 days to go from PayPal to the bank. One of my biggest issues is I end up spending my money, whatever money I have, on the people I serve, whether it's buying them food, buying them boots, buying them clothes, and then I end up forgetting to pay my electric bill, and but that's okay, or buying new tires for my car, which they don't need them yet, hopefully, and but it's all about, for me, it's all about the people that's sitting across from me. I will meet somebody and ask them in not so many words to trust me with the rest of your life. And then I have to earn that trust every time I see them.
All right. Well, with that, we're unfortunately out of time.
I know.
But we'll have to bring you back in because clearly you've got more to share.
Okay, thank you. I love this place. I love your new studios.
Thank you.